never did a wedding until I came to Texas. 2017, I started my own single out mobile DJ business. Beginner DJs are in a better opportunity than they've ever been in.
It's quite daunting for a lot of beginner DJs.
Dude, it was terrifying. Definitely nerve-wracking. It's not an easy industry to work in. You just have to learn to switch your mindset. They want to go and have a good time, so go and give them a good time. Song selection is key, and I'm allowed to be cheesy. It is what it is.
At what points did you scale up your price?
I was charging $500 a wedding. Now in 2024, I charge $5,000 a wedding.
Welcome back to another episode of Talking Point. It's Dave Mellows here. Thank you very much for tuning into this episode today. Today we've got an amazing DJ up for us, and before we even jump into that, welcome back to the podcast as a whole. This is the return now. It's the DJ focused podcast. This is for beginner DJs, made by DJs. That's myself, and the guests are all going to be DJs, producers, musicians, radio hosts, all that sort of good stuff. And today, like I say, we've got an amazing DJ. This is Jack Kristian. We talk all about his move from UK nightclubs to US weddings. He talks in very much a lot of detail about how much he's getting paid, because we have said in this podcast, we have said that in the UK, we don't talk about money, we don't talk about salary, whether that's in the DJ business or whether that's in the 9-to-5 jobs. We don't talk about our salaries. So it's a really good bit of insight about Jack talking about how much he charges for weddings in the US and how much he charges as a beginner DJ and how much you should be charging for your first gigs. We honestly talk about everything from his journey as a beginner DJ at 13 years old all the way to how he's earning as much as he's earning now, and it's a really insightful conversation. He is at Jack Kristian DJ, I'm at Dave Mellows and at Talking Point Pod. Let me know what you think of this one. Enjoy this interview with Jack Kristian. So Jack, how did you get started in DJing? I've heard that you started quite young and you've scaled up from there. So what point would you pin as the beginning?
Oh gosh. I actually got a really early start. Well, early-ish. I started when I was 13. My half brother Joe, his dad, DJ back in the 80s. So my brother's 5 years older than me. So when he turned 18, he saw the opportunity to make some extra money. So he went and got the old DJ gear out of his dad's garage, and we started taking it to pubs and really small venues in England, and we kind of grew from there. We started off with 2 netbooks, the really small laptops. I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah.
There was no beat matching, no real like DJing really. It was all about the song selection, but we had these 2 netbooks up on the table and just a mixer in the middle, and we had iTunes loaded on both netbooks, and we would, as one song finish, hit play on the other one, fade it up, fade it down, and off we went. And we did that for years. And then when Newmark came out with their MIDI USB powered mix track, we finally got like a controller. And that's where my kind of beat matching journey went and took off, because that's when I really got to have fun with beat matching tracks and putting them together and seeing what works and what didn't. And that's where I feel like I kind of started to be a DJ as opposed to just like a jukebox.
How old was you when you started doing the beat matching?
Probably 16.
So you went about 3 years just being like the jukebox DJ, and then you got really into it.
Yep. Then I got really into that. And then by the time I turned 18 was when I really found a love for house music and EDM music, which I don't know kind of where the UK is at now, but this was back in 2013, 14. House was huge. So that's where I got my first nightclub gig, and I was DJing, every few weeks at this local nightclub in my hometown. And I was still doing kind of private events, but again, it wasn't weddings or anything crazy. It was birthday parties. We did a lot of 18th birthday parties, 13th birthday parties, wedding anniversary, 50th birthdays. I never did a wedding till I came to Texas. And then I moved out to Dallas, Texas in 2015. Took a couple years off and then went to help a buddy of mine DJ a really small budget wedding. A friend of mine was a DJ, and I kind of taught him, but we were just kind of messing around. He had some low budget speakers. We went and did a friend of his, it was his wedding. We went and DJ'd that. And that's where I just fell in love with the wedding scene. So then in 2017, I started my own single up mobile DJ business, focusing on the wedding industry, and I've been doing weddings ever since.
So it really started off then, just before we go on to onto the weddings, if we focus on like the UK scene at first in the nightclubs. What town was it that you started DJing in?
I grew up in Nuneaton, which is right outside of Coventry.
Right, yeah. So round in the Coventry, big on house. When you first started mixing, I know you said you had the love of it from being 13, just playing the songs. How was your first experience mixing them together? Because I know it's quite daunting for a lot of beginner DJs. They hear it when they go out in the nightclubs. It's not as easy as it looks.
Dude, it was terrifying. And I remember, you know what I did, and I'll be totally honest about this. And now when I think about it, I cringe. I never learned to DJ on CDJs. My only experience at that time, because I was so young, was the mix track.
Right.
I used to take that USB mix track into nightclubs and just like set it on the table next to the CDJs. And like that, the resident DJs, bless them, they were so damn sweet. Now I think about it, like I had no right to be like walking in, plugging in my own gear. But the resident DJ at the time, Chan, was awesome. He was super sweet, took me under his wing and was like, hey, if this is what you know, you play on this, and made me feel super comfortable. But now when I think about it, any beginner DJs, if you are going to play like at a club, find out what equipment they're using, rent it, practice on it, all that good stuff, because you don't want to be walking into a club with your own gear. It just doesn't look right.
Yeah, definitely. So then when you finally learn on the CDJs, did you start going into the clubs with them, or was it only in America when you made the switch?
I did not make the switch until I came to the States.
Really?
Because, okay, so I was 18, 19 and 20 when I was DJing in the UK. I was working a bar gig, a gym gig. I worked for a gym company in the UK.
That's surprising.
And then DJing on. I know it's surprising looking at me now, but I did. I used to be in shape.
No. I mean, like, do you mean like when in the gym sessions, like you DJ while people are working out?
Oh, no. I did my personal training certification. So
right.
Yeah. So I didn't really have I wasn't making big money. So to go out and spend thousands of dollars on DJ equipment just really wasn't an option for me. I was only charging, I think, £100 to go and do like a birthday party. Like, you think CDJs cost you £3,000 for one? You do the math. It's going to take me years to get enough money. So it wasn't until I moved stateside, and I took a couple years off, so I had some good savings, that I finally said, you know what? If I'm going to buy new DJ equipment, I'm going to buy what I really want. And that's where I went ahead and I went totally like from the cheapest controller you can buy, and I went out there and I bought the Pioneer DDJ RZX, which is huge. Huge. Again, like I went from one end of the spectrum to the other, and I took that controller out from 2017 all the way till like the end of last year. And I mean, this controller is massive. It's huge. And that's where I really learned to get more technical with DJing. That's where I really I really started with the open format, mixing different genres. Yeah, that's where the CDJ kind of journey went.
So do you think as a beginner DJ, do you think what I'm trying to say here, how early do you think you should make the switch? Do you think you left it too long? Or do you think you like you say, you've got to make the money on the beginner decks and work your way up gradually?
Well, what's amazing now is technology's come such a long way that beginner DJs are in a better opportunity than they've ever been in, because there's so many entry level controllers that are fantastic to get up and going, and will then they template the highest spec controllers. So, for example, I bought my assistant an FLX4. It's either the FLX4 or the FLX6. Super affordable controller. But then when he's playing on my Rev 7, the effects are the same. It's not moving platters, but it's all very, very similar. So beginner DJs now, it's not like you have to have the top of the line best that can be offered, because pretty much you go with the best that's offered by Pioneer, by Newmark, by Denon, and by Rain, and there's lower grades that you can learn on. So it's a lot different. Like, the thought of any beginner DJ now taking out 2 netbooks and a mixer to DJ on just wouldn't happen, because it would be cheaper to buy a Rev 1, an FLX4, a Denon controller, a Hercules, smaller Hercules. So there's there's so much more there's so much more available now to beginner DJs.
I know when me and my friends started learning to DJ at uni, we actually learned on stage in like the nightclub. It was during like COVID times, so people were sat down. But we was learning, we were just thrown up because the actual DJ that was supposed to be there had COVID. So we were doing radio at the time. They threw us on there and we had to learn in front of a crowd. Our first mixes were horrible, as they all are, but it was in front of everyone there. But I think after a few drinks, after being locked away in lockdowns and everything for so long, everyone was just happy to hear something. So we kind of was in a harder situation, but looked out of it at the same time. Did you feel that same sort of pressure going into your first gig in front of an audience?
Dude, 100%. And it's terrifying. It's definitely nerve-wracking, and you just have to learn to switch your mindset. You have to learn, because it's so easy to get into your own head as a performer and think, oh no, I'm going to train wreck. People are going to laugh at me. People want me to fail. That's not the case. No one goes to a nightclub or any event to watch the DJ train wreck. They don't. They want to go and have a good time. So go and give them a good time. Do what you practice at home, if you're able to practice at home. If the DJ doesn't have COVID. And do what you do usually on the stage. Everyone's there to have a good time. No one wants you to fail. And I think once you switch that mindset, you can really let loose and start to have some more fun.
I think a lot of beginner DJs, they've got it in the head when they're up there. One little mistake that you've been practicing and you slip up on it, it's noticeable to everyone. But I've from what I found, it's really not. Have you found the same sort of thing?
100%. And ultimately, when it comes down to DJing, as much as the cuts and the tricks and the scratches are fun, honestly, song selection is key. And when you look at blending together 2 songs, the transition's only going to be 5 to 10 seconds. You're going to play that song for at least 1 to 3 minutes. So is ultimately that 5 to 10 seconds going to ruin the whole experience of the song? No, it's not. It's not a big thing. And I still train wreck at least 2 or 3 transitions during the night. It happens because you try different things. You don't know if it works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But you just have to shake it off, make sure that everyone's having a good time. And ultimately, as long as you're playing the right music, that is what's most important.
Yeah, definitely. How much do you practice the transitions that you go in and do during a set, like beforehand? Do you have like a set playlist? Do you have a multiple set playlists and you mix between, or do you completely go up and freestyle?
A little bit of both. So obviously weddings specifically. So let's look at it from a nightclub standpoint and from a wedding standpoint. From a wedding standpoint, every couple is different. Their music tastes are different. So when they fill out my planning forms, they give me their music tastes, and then I create their crates and their playlist based off of what they give me. So to begin with, it's got to it depends on what they choose, depends on what I play. I always challenge myself, and because of the content creation that I try to put out, I always try and blend different songs, just to see if I can get some different content. But not just for content purposes, to keep things fresh, to keep things fun. But then at the same time, I also have my routines that I know, like if I play one song, I'm gonna quick mix to one, two, three, and four, and then the fifth song might be different. Um, so it really depends. But then on the nightclub side, so when I go and play at like DJ conferences and that kind of thing, I prep and I practice so hard for that. And not because one's more important than the other, because that's not necessarily the case. What it is, for me, playing when you play at conferences and clubs and kind of play in front of peers and other DJs, I want it to be right. It's one thing going and DJing a 3 hour dance set at a wedding, but if you're going to go play at a club or a conference and you only get, 15, 30 minutes, I want everything to be squeaky, squeaky clean. So for those ones specifically, I will, for the most part, have a set playlist that I bounce, but that I try and stick to. But again, you always have to be prepared that if you get 2, 3 minutes into the set and what you thought people wanted to hear isn't working, you have to be able to switch things up and have a plan B, plan C, plan D, um, and switch vibes if needed. So that's also super important.
In those early situations where you've only got those 15-20 minute slots, because I know that a lot of beginner DJs, that's how they get into, especially the nightclub scene. Can I just open for you for 15 minutes and then the night's yours? In those small slots, do you prioritize song selection, or do you prioritize mixing and getting as much in as you can?
Hmm. You know, gosh, that's hard. Here's the thing: when you're opening up, and this is again my first experience of opening up a nightclub was horrendous. And here's why. Song selection is so important when you're opening up for another DJ. Because what you need to remember is it's your job to warm up the crowd for the DJ that's coming on next. And the first club I opened up for, I went hard. I went out with a banger set. And I remember finishing and going up to the promoters afterwards. And it was like, 9:30 at night. There was hardly anyone in the club. I said, how awesome was that? And they were like, dude, like, warm them up. You're like going way too hard, way too fast, and you're playing all the tracks that the headliners are going to play later on. So that is a huge thing to think about. So song selection super important, but there are hundreds of thousands of songs that you can open up with depending on the vibe of that nightclub that people either haven't heard of or that are more low key that can still get people warmed up. So I think being able to showcase a quality warm up set is harder and if not more important than the opening set. Because if you can get everyone warmed up and hyped for that headliner, trust me, the headliner is going to thank you. But if you completely train wreck that warm up set and you don't get them going, you're bringing in a headliner that's walking into a crowd that is not ready. So definitely doing a warm-up set is not something that people should take like lightheartedly and should definitely be prepped. But it is also a time to showcase what you can do. What's more important, song selection or mixing? Both. But if you can showcase some great mixing with tracks that aren't going to destroy a headliner's set, do it. Because that really is your opportunity to get people going. Being able to warm up a crowd correctly is super important. So
So
for sure.
that's all focusing on nightclubs. And I know you said that you've then transitioned when you moved to Dallas, you've more gone towards weddings and different like events that's more tailored. That first off, which one do you prefer? Which one have you found easier, and which one do you enjoy more?
This is why, and I know this is not going to be an answer that most people are going to expect. I adore weddings, man. Like I love the wedding industry, especially over here. So when I used to DJ nightclubs, obviously I was so limited to or so restricted to whatever genre that the clubs played, whether it was house, whether it was hip hop, but that's all that we did. And I adore the challenge of attending a wedding where you've got two different families from two different backgrounds. You've got grandma, you've got auntie, you've got the grandkids, you've got kind of everyone there, and your job is to play the hits of like all the genres and all the eras. I love that freedom. If I can go from like Elvis and Aretha Franklin and Bruno Mars and Paul Russell and Drake and 50 Cent, and I am just in my zone. So just being able to play a little bit of everything, that's what I love about weddings. And I feel like I've got so much freedom to kind of really get creative with my transitions. So it's fun.
Yeah, I think it's definitely another level of skill doing a wedding than doing a nightclub. And not to say DJing a nightclub isn't hard or doesn't require skill, because it definitely does. But the types of songs that you're going to be playing at a wedding that you're going to have been asked to play beforehand, and then also the requests that you get on a night at a wedding are completely different to the requests you're going to get while you're on stage at a nightclub.
And I know I now class myself as a wedding DJ, and I'm allowed to be cheesy. It is what it is. But you go to a nightclub and you play to a crowd that you're basically playing the soundtrack to their Friday night. And they probably go out every Friday night or every Saturday night. Their only ultimate goal is to go out, get drunk, and have a good time. The music's cool. And it is important. Do not get me wrong there. The music is absolutely important. But there's just something special about when you DJ a wedding. You DJ for two people for their arguably biggest party that they will ever throw in their life, and it's your job to make the night memorable. There's just something really special about that. I know it's cheesy, but I mean it. It really is awesome.
So you're favoring weddings then, or weddings in the US over nightclubs in the UK as a DJ?
Absolutely. And the only reason why I say weddings in the US is I've never DJ'd a wedding in the UK. So,
well, I imagine you'll get a lot better weather for DJs in the US than we do in the UK. I DJ'd one last summer, and it was an outdoor wedding. Rained the entire day. It was we made the most of it. They had like a cover and everything, but yeah, it was not what they was expecting. Bless them.
Of all the things that I miss about Britain, the weather isn't one of them.
That doesn't surprise me one bit. So obviously going from the UK to the US, going from nightclubs to weddings, you're obviously going from arguably a beginner to a pro. And with that, at what points in your DJ journey did you scale up your price? Did you say, right, okay, I'm at the point now where I can go from charging X to charging Y? And why did you choose that?
So there was a couple factors that I considered. So for example, when I first started to kind of put things into a little bit of perspective, and I know money can kind of be a bit taboo, especially in the UK, to discuss. But when I started DJing weddings in 2017, I was charging $500 a wedding. Now in 2024, I charge $5,000 a wedding. So then when you think about how to scale and what factors you take into consideration, there's loads. There's your equipment that you take out, the level of experience. There's definitely no way I could charge what I charge now back in 2017. So you've got to have the experience of learning the crowd. And the US is so big that what you play at a wedding in Texas is not necessarily what you would play at a wedding in California, in New York, in New Jersey, or Delaware.
Right.
Being able to learn what you need to play for the crowd that's in front of you is something that you really can only learn with experience. But then also the level of DJ that I personally felt like the level of service that I was bringing to weddings valued that. And of course, there's plenty of factors. You've got to grow your social media. You've got to grow your reputation in your area. You have to grow your networking, the people that are around you that support you, the vendors that you like to work with. And also you've got to play at the right venues. There's obviously venues out here that you could probably book for $1,000, and then there's venues out here that may charge 20,000. So you've got to find your right venues to work with. You've also got to find your right audiences to work with. One of the massive things that made a big difference to me over the last couple of years, and I think there's similar conferences in the UK, but I set myself a challenge that once I made this my full-time career in 2020, which was a terrible year to start making DJing your full-time career, was to go to conferences, network with DJs around the country, find the best of the best in your area, in your country, network with them, talk to them, learn from them, and take the best parts, throw away the bits that maybe don't apply to you, and put them into practice. And that was ultimately being able to talk to some of the leading DJs in the industry and gain nuggets of amazing information. Really took my service, what I did, and also reiterated like where I was at in this mobile DJ world, whether I felt like I had so much to learn or whether I felt like I could contribute to the industry as a whole. That would be my ultimate recommendation. If there are conferences that you can go and meet people, it's you're never going to be put in the same room as all these people unless you attend to these conferences. It's 100% worth it.
So obviously going to them, you're getting a lot of perspective, like you say, where you are on the scale. But I know a beginner DJ, before they get that perspective, might wonder how much to charge for their first gig. So how much, if you went back to the start, knowing what you know now, how much should a beginner DJ charge?
For a wedding?
For a wedding, for a nightclub? Well, obviously, I know it'll depend on the event.
So for a wedding in my area, now Dallas is pretty big. Dallas is probably one of the leading cities in the country, next to probably New York, New Jersey, Chicago. We have a huge market. I would say a beginner DJ shouldn't charge less than $1,000, but with that in mind, I also don't think that a beginner DJ should be jumping into weddings feet first without any experience. I would recommend for any beginner DJ, find a local seasoned DJ in your area, see if you can go with them, see if you can be their assistant, see if you can shadow some events, go to at least 10 weddings. Get a really good idea of the flow of the structure on how the whole wedding day works, how they MC, how they introduce the first dance, how they welcome their wedding party into the reception hall. Get a really good idea of all of that before you go and jump straight into your wedding, because ultimately when you are taking on someone's wedding, it's as much of a fun job as this is. It's not something that should be taken lightly. It is serious. It is a huge investment. Some, bride and grooms or couples as a whole spend they spend a house deposit on a party. Don't screw it up just because you didn't do your research. Do your research, shadow some DJs. That would be my ultimate recommendation, because by doing that, what you can do is, rather than coming in at $500, undercutting every DJ in your area and screwing up 30 people's wedding days, what you could actually do is learn some really good pieces of information and then enter into the industry at $1,000, $1,500, and still offer a really good service.
Yeah, it's a huge responsibility to have. And I know going through a DJ journey, like you've gone through yourself, you come across loads of different things on the way. So in terms of personal growth and career growth, what are 3 things that you've been grateful for in your journey?
Okay. 3 things I've been grateful on as my journey as a wedding DJ, or as a DJ as a whole. Golly. Firstly, of course, family. It's not an easy industry to work in. It is a fun industry to work in, but it's not an easy industry. Especially if you're a little bit older. I'm about to be 30, and I have 2 kids. I have a wife, and being away on the weekend all weekend is it's not an easy career. So you have to have a great support system around you that's really going to be in your corner. So that's the first thing. Um, Second thing that I am grateful for is, truthfully, again, it sounds cheesy, but I am a wedding DJ, so I'm allowed. It's all the connections that I make in this industry. When you go and attend like conferences and you go and meet these DJs that you look up to, that you're um that you really learn a lot from, making those connections and having those people to reach out to if you have questions, or just to support their dreams and them support your dreams also. Find a community in this industry. Um, Finding a community in this industry is definitely something that I'm super grateful for. Um, and thirdly, I mean, I don't know if this is going to make me sound really bad. Oh no, you might have to edit this one. Oh no. I'm truthfully, I am unbelievably grateful of the lifestyle and the money that I am able to make here living in the States as a DJ. I feel like I have opportunities living stateside, making different money that I would in the UK. And I am unbelievably grateful for that. I find myself extremely thankful every day that I do what I do for a living and pay my bills. I play music on the happiest day of people's lives, and pay my mortgage with that money is just wild to me. And I'm so like, genuinely, it's a dream. I'm truthfully living my dream right now, and that means a lot to me. So I am really, really grateful for that.
No, yeah, yeah, definitely. So it's family, it's community, and it's profit, pretty much. That yeah, 100%. And I think being grateful and having gratitude is so important in, especially when in careers like yourself, you know, you're doing what you love and you're getting paid for it. There's so much
And
to be grateful for there.
And I feel like if anyone can take anything away from this interview, it's that if you want to come in as a beginner DJ, you can make a career out of it. It doesn't have to be a hobby, doesn't have to be a side hustle. If you put the work in, it can really be your whole career.
Definitely. Agreed. Well, thank you very much for jumping on Talking Point, Jack. It's been really fun interviewing you today.
Thanks for having me, Dane. I appreciate you, man.